Welcome back to Automotive Insiders. I'm your host, Jason Stein. Great to have you back listening again on this platform. Digital transformation continues to redefine what's possible inside automotive manufacturing, but technology alone doesn't guarantee success. Productivity gains, quality improvements, and supply chain agility depend just as much on people, mindset, and a willingness to operate differently. At Martinrea, the journey blends both advanced analytics and machine learning deployed across operations. That's paired with a cultural foundation that encourages innovation and continuous improvement. Today, we explore how Martinrea is balancing cost pressures with smart investment, overcoming legacy challenges, and upskilling its workforce to embrace a data-driven future. We'll also discuss what happens when digital tools clearly connect to business outcomes and how a strong culture becomes a powerful competitive advantage. Joining us today is Pat D'Eramo, CEO of Martinrea International. He shares the lessons learned and the road ahead as predictive real-time intelligence becomes the new standard in manufacturing. From our conversation at the MEMA Annual Conference in Detroit, this is Automotive Insiders.
Pat, thank you so much. Pleasure to have you on Automotive Insiders again. Yep. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, great to have you back. Great to have you back on the program. Great to have you at the annual conference here in suburban Detroit. What are your impressions so far of the event? It's always great to catch up with people from around the industry.
I can't say 100%, but I think this might be one of the largest crowds.
It is.
That MEMA has had, maybe the largest.
It is the largest.
And when we introduced the board, or when Colin introduced the board earlier, my comment was every year gets better with this organization, and certainly the amount of work they've had to do based on the current tariff situation and so forth has been outstanding.
What a fascinating year it's been.
5 years.
What a fascinating 5 years it's been.
That's right.
Give me your perspective on what 2025 has felt like.
It's almost like a record that skips. Remember records?
I do remember.
Yeah,
they're in vogue again. So yeah,
no, it's like a repeat.
Either that or the needle screeching off a record.
Yeah. So we're just pumped up about 26.
Well, you and I were talking kind of off stage. What could come next, and I think the answer is we just don't know.
No.
Right? And that's been the theme of this year. We just don't know.
No.
How do you prepare for things when you just don't know?
Well, I think that the one good thing about this industry is very resilient people in it.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I look over 40 years, and there's always been challenges. It's just this time, these last 5 or whatever it is, all happened at the same time, or I should say consecutively. And so that's really been the harder part, is we haven't had a tailwind in a while. So I'm hoping a big one comes.
We have a theme here that we're going to get to in a second, but since I have you, I want to ask, there's been a lot of talk of, because of the chaos, the amount of planning that's had to go into managing the chaos, which is a lot of intellectual firepower at scenarios that either will happen or won't happen. How do you, go ahead.
So here's the best example I can give you.
Yep.
Our supply chain team. Our supply chain team is already, before tariffs, was already right on the edge of being staffed correctly or not, holding on to people in our plants and so forth, because it's a tough role. With tariffs now on top of their normal job, 90% of their time is chasing tariffs, supply chain resilience, every other question we're getting from all our customers, which are all different questions, unfortunately. And so the workload on them is now preventing them from moving forward on a normal fashion to improve basic activity. Getting better prices, those types of things, a lot harder because there's so much time being spent on response and tariff activity. And that's probably the best example I've seen. The best bad example I've seen.
Yeah. Are you worried about some suppliers not making it through this, smaller ones?
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be some fallout.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, there's going to be some fallout of some smaller suppliers. I think what you're also going to see is there's some very large suppliers where automotive might just be a very slice of their pie. It's not worth dealing with you kind of a thing. Certain like resin type suppliers, those kind of things. I think there's going to be two different things that happen, but I think the fallout of small suppliers is a greater potential. You've already seen some bigger ones,
right,
fall apart.
Right. Well, I could spend an hour talking to you about industry ramifications, but let's talk driving digital a little bit. How are you using machine learning and new technology to stay ahead? There's been a lot of conversation at this event about machine learning.
So we kind of tripped on ourselves years ago and started digging into what we now call machine learning before we knew that's what it was called. We have a plant that had a very proactive general manager who used to hire a lot of co-ops. And he hired a whole bunch more co-ops than normal, and he started working on different technologies in what I call the bubble, and developed, I'd say, 3 really good tools that we now use in that plant and are now starting to execute in other plants. So press monitoring, everybody uses predictive and preventative maintenance, but this actually predicts what is going to be predicted. And we've seen examples of it, like, predictive maintenance may say, hey, you got a little potential for a hose to leak, let's say, as an example. And this can predict that the hose is going to leak in the future. And we've seen it. So that's probably our best tool as far as what's ready to go, build in a box and send it to our plants, and that's now taking place. We have another one called ATOM, and I can't remember what the acronym means right now, but it's for welding. And we've been able to improve our weld, again, in this same plant, our weld technology. It's making it sound a lot easier than it was. It took years. Where we've been able to speed the line up, not just the line itself, but the actual weld process, and eliminate 1 of 3 shifts at the same volume, which, when you have that situation, can be very cost effective. And it's also sparkless, so the quality level is much higher. People love watching welds, right? You go in there, you see the sparks flying. That's all bad. And you go and you watch this line, there is no sparks. The weld quality is better, and we're running faster. And then another tool is vision systems that we've been developing as well. So we're starting to move that from that one plant with these young people, for the most part, as they understand it and they developed it, and then executing it and delivering it into our other plants. And that's a challenge. I don't want to mislead anybody. Anybody thinks they're going to flip a switch and this stuff's going to happen overnight. It's not, because you have to get the plant to receive it and understand it and then perpetuate it, because delivering it to them, if they don't want it, it won't work.
It's almost your skunk works team to some extent.
Exactly what it turned into.
Yeah.
It was, I say we fell on it because it wasn't by design. It was almost by happenstance.
Yeah.
But now it's a very important part of the organization. It actually reports to me in order to help move it along quicker.
So as you drive digitization throughout the organization, what role does culture play in that? How does leadership foster a mindset of innovation amid all of that?
Well, I think the first thing is culture. It can't be prescribed or constructed. It's got to be lived. Yeah, we have the posters also, like everybody else, but it's what we do and how you act, right? And it happens over time. And it's a big deal to us. We have a lot of time we spend on it, and I like to think, in fact, I believe we have a very good culture in our company. So one example, our first big example of change, was when we started doing lean manufacturing when I came 10 years ago. And it sounds, everybody likes to say we do lean manufacturing. Most people don't, because they don't know what it is until they live it. And when an analyst asked me, how long is this lean thing going to take? I said, it's going to take at least 10 years. It seems like a long time. I said, no, it's not that long a time for something like this. And that's 11 years later, and we're pretty good at it. So that's a big culture shift. With this technology, the difference is people want it. They're excited about it. It's the all in, and they don't have to change all the things they used to do. They get to add to the things they're doing. And so there's a lot of excitement about it. It's like an opposite problem of a culture change. they want it faster than it can be provided. So we see that as a real positive.
Amid the blending of technology and culture, what have you learned along the way?
That's a good question. Like I said, it's really hard to do, okay? Let's use the MOS example, or our lean example again. We call it MOS. The temptation with machine learning or technology in general is go get the technology and it's going to help us reduce headcounts or go faster, improve quality or whatever. And it's an absolute sin to buy new technology or AI-driven technology until you've done the fundamental best you can, lean manufacturing, no capital, no cost, just thinking through how do I make this operation more efficient. Once you've done that, then go buy more technology and then do it again. And then go buy AI and then do it again. Because if you lose that basic discipline and the thinking of how to really do it the best at a low cost, you're wasting money when you start investing. And I see that throughout my career time and time again. And we've worked really hard at making sure that doesn't happen.
Cross-functional collaboration, data sharing, and scaling in the right way.
Yeah, and you touch on data. That's probably been one of our bigger challenges. We grew up in the Magna model, very independent plants, which can lead to some great advantages when you have a good entrepreneurial leader. But when you want to do system type changes, it's kind of challenging. So one of the biggest issues we've had in the last 3 or 4 years, and it's critically important when you do machine learning or any other AI, is clean data. Everybody likes their spreadsheets and likes to operate off their spreadsheets. Even though you have an ERP system, you got this little hot list that tells you what you're going to run next. So getting everybody migrated to using the system that we purchased 20 years ago for ERP, and then keeping all our data clean and live, so everybody can use the same data as our current activity. I'd say it's our number one activity in our company, because AI is good in, good out, bad in, bad out. And it doesn't know anything until you teach it. So once you teach it, if you teach it wrong, you're going to get bad answers.
Final thing, where are you headed next on your digital journey?
So we're going to, over the next few years, implement these 3 main items throughout our plants. And then we've got something really, you have a phone on you? Oh, it's over there, isn't it? So think about a cell phone.
Right.
If you think about the 3 activities I just told you about, the 3 machine learning processes we're focused on as apps. We've developed the phone in-house. We call it Factory Engine. The Factory Engine is the home place where, as you develop these apps, or you go buy them from somebody else, you can run them off of this item. And we think we can package that up and actually sell it as a revenue stream. So that's kind of our thinking a few years from now, or earlier if we can put it together.
Yeah. Fascinating. Always enjoyable to be with you. Always enjoyable to hear where you're positioning not only the company, but what you think of the industry too. So thank you for all that you do for the industry, and thanks for being on the program again.
Enjoyed
it.
Thank
Pat,
you.
Thank you.
A special thanks again to my guest, Pat D'Eramo, CEO of Martinrea International. And thank you for joining us on this platform. I'm your host, Jason Stein. We'll see you again next time.